That moment in the sauna with my stepbrother Liam became one of those memories that refuses to stay buried. Not because of anything I can fully explain, but because everything in my life seemed to shift from something ordinary into something charged, confusing, and unforgettable. It always returns to the day my father remarried 2 years ago when I was still young, mostly focused on school, friends, and the simple rhythm of my daily routine. Not prepared for how my world would quietly expand to include new people and emotions. Isabella, my stepmother, had been kind from the start, making the house feel warmer. And with her came Liam, her son, only a year older than me, tall, confident, naturally athletic, with an easy charm that made him instantly noticeable in any room he entered. I expected distance, awkwardness, but instead what formed was something unexpectedly natural. Like we had skipped the part where strangers pretend and gone straight into something more comfortable, where teasing replaced formality and conversation came without effort. Over time, that strange ease turned into routine companionship, shared jokes, late-night talks, helping each other with small things that slowly built a connection neither of us ever named. 2 years passed, and it no longer felt strange to call him family in one sense. Yet it also never felt like that was the only thing he was to me, especially when he suggested we spend a week at the family cabin, a place near a quiet lake surrounded by dense trees where time seemed to slow down. I agreed without hesitation, needing space to breathe and to think. The first night at the cabin was simple and calm, filled with small moments, like sitting outside under a sky full of stars that felt too wide and too quiet to be real. I remember feeling oddly peaceful, like everything had settled into place. Liam, as always, moved through everything with that same relaxed confidence. The next day, the summer heat settled heavily over the cabin, turning the air thick and slow. After spending time near the lake, we decided to use the sauna behind the cabin. Liam had been excited about it, though I wasn't enthusiastic, associating saunas with discomfort. But he insisted with that usual half-smile, making it hard to say no. So I followed him, towel over my shoulder, stepping into the small wooden structure. It immediately wrapped us in intense heat, making the air feel dense and heavy. At first we joked like we always did, he leaning back casually. But as time passed, the silence between us started to stretch, less casual, more aware. As though the heat itself was pressing not just on our skin, but on the space between thoughts. I remember him speaking softly about how this place had always been his escape growing up. Hearing him talk made me see a side of him I didn't often notice, something quieter, more human, less confident and more vulnerable in a way he rarely allowed anyone to see. The conversation faded again and silence returned, only this time it wasn't empty. It felt full, almost too full, like something unspoken was sitting right between us. I started noticing things I had always ignored before. The closeness of the space, the way our shoulders occasionally brushed, the sound of breathing in a quiet room, where nothing else existed except heat and stillness and the faint creak of wooden benches. At some point I became painfully aware of him in a way I hadn't been before. Not just as Liam, my stepbrother, but as someone who suddenly felt too close, and that realization unsettled me because it didn't fit into anything I understood. When our eyes met briefly in that heavy silence, I saw something flicker there too. Something unreadable, something that made my heart react before my mind could catch up. I remember standing up abruptly just to escape the intensity of it, stepping outside into the cold night air where the sudden contrast hit my skin, making everything feel sharp and real again, the lake still and reflective under the stars. But my thoughts refused to calm down because something had already shifted inside me. When I eventually returned to the sauna, he was still there, still calm, still looking at me like he was waiting for something I couldn't define. When he finally spoke again, his voice was softer, more careful, as if he was testing a truth neither of us had said out loud yet. I remember how difficult it was to respond, how every word felt heavier than it should have, like the simplest sentence might break something irreversible between us. Then came that moment where silence became too loud to ignore, where distance stopped feeling natural, where understanding replaced confusion. And he reached out, not forcefully, but slowly, giving space for choice, for refusal, for everything to remain unchanged if I wanted it to. And I didn't move away, and that single decision changed everything between us. Because what followed wasn't just about heat or closeness or curiosity. It was about crossing a line neither of us had ever spoken about but both knew existed. In that space where hesitation and certainty collided, something happened that cannot be fully explained. Only felt in fragments afterward, in silence, in avoidance, in the way two people look at each other. Differently after a moment that cannot be undone. When it was over, neither of us knew what to say, because language felt too small. All we could do was sit there in silence, trying to pretend the world hadn't shifted. Later, when we finally left the sauna, the cold night air felt like reality pulling us back, reminding us that whatever had happened belonged somewhere between a memory and a question. Neither of us were ready to answer. Even now, I still think about it, not with clarity, but with uncertainty, wondering what it meant, what it changed, and if silence was ever enough.